November 1095, Pope Urban calls on all Christians to take up arms against Muslims who control the Holy Land.
Christian armies set off on what's going to be the first of 8 crusades. They marched through modern-day Turkey, Constantinople, and what is today Syria, Antioch.
There was a massive response. Probably about 100,000 people from all walks of life, mostly from the nobility but the poor. Even churchmen left their monasteries in order to go on this holy war.
Pope Urban II wants to liberate the Holy Land. He wants to liberate Jerusalem and the most holy sites for Christians from Muslim rule.
Then they set their sights on the holy city of Jerusalem. It involves a siege process that lasts about a month, and by July of 1099, they have breached the walls of Jerusalem itself.
The Holy Land and all its famed sites are now back in the control of the Catholic Church.
This is a huge deal because these are the holiest places in Christian lore, and people come from all over. They come from Italy, from England, from France. Pilgrims want to go now to visit the holy places.
But that brings a new challenge.
Then as now, travelers are easy prey. You're easy targets for robbers. And so you have all sorts of pilgrims who now are being murdered on the way to Jerusalem.
I mean, literally, the roads to Jerusalem are littered with the skeletons of pilgrims.
In 1119, with the blessing of the Catholic Church, a French knight in Jerusalem forms a security force to protect the pilgrims. They call themselves the Poor Knights of the Temple of King Solomon, but will soon become known simply as the Knights Templar.
This idea of fighting for God in the Holy Land really captures the imagination of the Christian world, and the Templars embody that. They attract donations from all over Christendom, and this transforms them into one of the most powerful forces of the period.
The Knights Templar were the most charismatic, powerful order in the Middle Ages. Both priests and the bravest soldiers in the Crusades. They really capture the spirit of the age, and particularly in Rome, where the popes shower privileges on them. They're not answerable to kings, to princes, to dukes. They're only answerable directly to the Pope in Rome.
The Templars' fortune grows through their steady stream of donations. They also acquire vast estates, castles, and cathedrals all over Europe.
They're involved in all kinds of sectors of the European economy. They're in manufacturing, they're getting mills, they're getting all kinds of donations from wealthy donors. So they're not just a group of knights with swords. There's an entire intricate financial system that's supporting that.
It spans all sorts of countries, and it may be, in fact, the world's first multinational corporation.
The Templars have outposts throughout Christendom and go on to create the world's first modern banking system.
They set up a system of effectively banking, in which if you were a pilgrim, you could make a deposit at a commandery or an outpost, and then you would have a scrip you could redeem when you get to Jerusalem, and you were good for it when you got there.
When the Templars established themselves as a presence in Jerusalem, they're given the Al-Aqsa Mosque as their headquarters, built upon the Temple of Solomon. It's on the Temple Mount. It's one of the most holy places of all 3 major religions in the world.
This is the platform that was once the foundation for King Herod's massive temple. Underneath, rumored to be lots of holy treasures. So having got there, the Templars start digging below to find that treasure.
During work in that area, the story goes the Knights Templar discovered 2 extremely important items for the Christian faith, the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant. And so they had not only wealth, but relics.
But in 1187 AD, things change for the Templars.
Crusades continue for centuries. And in 1187, the Muslims reconquered Jerusalem. So those pilgrimage sites are now under Muslim control, and Christians are forbidden from being there. And the function the Knights Templar had of protecting the pilgrims to the Holy Land shifts dramatically in 1187 when you can't make that pilgrimage anymore.
The Templars are forced out of Jerusalem.
The Knights Templar flee and presumably take all of their treasure with them that would have included, perhaps, the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, and gold.
In 1795, on an island off the coast of Nova Scotia, a man called Daniel McInnes and his friends stumbled upon something on a particular spot that piqued their curiosity, and they go to discover further. And so they start excavating with a great deal of enthusiasm. And the place where they dig is called Oak Island.
As they dig, they uncover stones on top of planks. They continue to dig, and they find more stones on top of planks.
The digging continues, and at the 90-foot mark, they find a large stone engraved with strange symbols, their meaning as yet unknown. Since Daniel McInnes's discovery 2 centuries ago, a long line of researchers and explorers have invested resources on Oak Island.
In the 1980s, there's a real game changer of a discovery, and that is a series of boulder-like stones. And when seen from above, they are shaped as a cross. Now this points to Templar activity.
More wooden structures are then found underground in the second half of the 20th century. Chisel marks indicate the work was completed before the invention of modern tools.
If we think about it, the Knights Templar were crushed in 1307. Now, Christopher Columbus arrives in the Americas in 1492, so we've got a big gap.
Columbus was certainly not the first European to set foot on American shores. There was a Viking presence there probably for like 100 years in the midst of the Middle Ages.
Going back to Henry Sinclair around 1398, some are credited Sinclair with discovering Nova Scotia, which is New Scotland. So it's possible that the Sinclair family held on to the Templar treasure at Rosslyn Chapel, which they built for that purpose, before then, at the right moment, setting sail with it for the Americas. The timeline, the geography make this all feasible, that the Templar treasure was taken from Scotland and then eventually deposited into the money pit.
In 2006, search intensifies when brothers Rick and Marty Lagina purchase controlling interests of Oak Island. They begin following the old clues and discovering new ones of their own.
One of the more compelling discoveries was a lead cross with a kind of loop at the top that has been scientifically analyzed and dated. And they do date back to the Knight Templar period. And it's a period of history on Oak Island when there's not known to have been any other human activity.
I mean, Oak Island does seem to be kind of the place where you go to look for things that shouldn't be there, but maybe they're there, so who knows what they'll find next. I think one of the things that people find fascinating about the Templars, even to this day, is the fact that they fell so quickly and so spectacularly. And we don't know kind of what happened after that. It seems like it should have continued, or there should have been something that happened afterwards, or some sort of resistance or something there. And so we're just wondering, where did all the wealth go?
The Templars captured the imagination of Europe at the time and continues to be both revered and reviled down through the centuries. Authors have made them villains and heroes, like some of the Robin Hood legends and things like that.
They were this huge organization, commanderies all over the place. They had massive number of people. They had massive influence across Europe, and then it was suddenly gone. We have a hard time wrapping our heads around that.